Hey, boys and girls, weather report for October 12th, 2021, and also raccoons and buffaloes and bunnies. I don't want to leave them out.
Love them buffaloes. Love them bunnies.
I did not feed my raccoons last night, and boy, were they pissed.
I'll bet.
Yeah. The one
really? You didn't give them anything? Nothing?
No, I decided not to because I was too lazy to go upstairs and get a 5-gallon pail of dog food.
So they go like all Godfather on you and put like a squirrel head in your bed with you?
Yeah, there's that. And other things. The one was standing up on the fence looking at me, so I went and pulled the shade on him so he couldn't look at me. Like I was over. I mean, I got my water, I got my dinner, I turned, found something to watch, and I got all settled in, and then I got to run upstairs.
You heard of that old song, Muskrat Love? That was Raccoon Guilt.
Yeah, I got to run upstairs and load a 5-gallon pail full of dog food out in the garage and haul it down. And I just didn't want to do it last night, so I figured, okay, they're animals, they know how to forage, right? Hunt for food.
They used to anyway.
Well, they used to, yeah.
Yeah, they don't anymore. Yeah,
the little ones probably don't know how.
Yeah.
So anyway, I didn't feed them last night, so I don't know. I'll deal with them tonight. I do have a pail of food down here, so. But not much going on. I put the link out in chat because I really don't have a whole lot today. There are some. Oh, I know. No, AJ was on Apologia a couple hours ago, right?
Pretty impressive.
Oh, I didn't see that.
There was Cartoon AJ.
Cartoon AJ. Cartoon AJ is a lot cuter than real AJ. Really,
kind of, yeah. And he got a whole lot of Cartoon AJ time because usually on these things, the episodes are shorter, and then what the guest cartoon says is quite a bit shorter. So he got a lot of cartoon exposure time for that being his first time as an animated representation.
Hey, Gur. So I understand that somebody told me through the grapevine just a little while ago that somebody thinks that we're having this battle because of the joke, right? I think it's just kind of funny. Anyway, so they think that we're actually I'm really banning you and stuff like that, and it is just amazing how sometimes you wonder if they're laughing all the time, right? Especially this character, he's laughing all the time like an evil laugh, but he doesn't seem to understand humor at all. A couple of times these Christians, it just goes right over their head, and I don't quite get it. But anyway,
isn't that part of the pathology of like narcissistic people?
Yeah. The thumbnail today was of a blockhead or a rockhead, or basically because that is kind of the way I perceive Christians. There's an immovable rock somewhere between their ears where you can't get them to reason no matter how you come at it, right? Like this thing about evidence for evolution. Apparently they want to see evolution in a petri dish. And if we did do evolution in a petri dish, I think it was David, I forget which one of you pointed it out. They would say, "Oh no, you controlled the condition, so it's not real evolution. It didn't happen naturally." Right?
That was my observation, but I'm sure more people have made that observation than just me.
Yeah,
they want to see a liver evolve.
Yeah, Tony Maurice, he's the typical one that is always making those comments, and he would be the one that would say that oh, it was it was done by scientists, so of course it was contrived. It was they purified the chemicals and this and that. Yeah, so it wouldn't mean anything. That just proves that it takes an intelligent agent. And so that's exactly what they would say. Yeah.
The thing is that how you figure out things like geology, like how you figure out where oil is and things like that. If you watch any geology videos, I mean, they know a whole lot. They can test things in the laboratory. They can analyze minerals. They can figure out how things cement together. They can figure out how long it takes. And then from that, you infer the past. And we know about volcanoes and we know about, tectonics. And you go to these areas like Washington and you look at all these different, what do they call them? The regions, Scott, they have a name for them. I forget what they call them. Anyway, they have these maps with these incredible regions where the earth is like different formations have,
exotic terrains.
That too, but yeah, exotic terrains are the ones that come in from the Pacific, right?
Yeah, they come in and aren't part of the original continental core. Right. They're just floating into the continent.
So the point is that you've got all of this knowledge, just this tremendous field of knowledge that is geology. And from that, you piece together what happened in the past. And they can do a pretty damn good job of predicting where something is even before they've seen it, right? Because they know what the broad strokes are. They know, about orogeny and mountain building and different things like that. And they can tell before they drill what they're going to find. Sometimes they get a surprise, but oftentimes they can predict where these land masses are. Mm-hmm. And they have this whole thing. Well, the creationists want to call that a story. And it's like, well, yeah, it is a story, but it's a story that happened. It's a story about the past. And then they had, and they say, oh, you don't have any evidence. You don't have any evidence. But do they have evidence that the earth cracked open like an egg? Some creator spirit god thing in the outside of the universe happened to put a whole bunch of water under there. All that water blasted out of these cracks along with lava, just completely covering the earth. Then this water raced back and forth. And while it was racing back and forth in these giant tsunamis, there was a boat floating on top of it with 7,000 pairs of animals in it that ended up repopulating the earth. And then some of the water shot up into outer space and rained down as ice and managed to cool the planet. And radiometric dating was completely different back then. The laws of physics were not the same at all. And yet all of this heat didn't melt the earth, even though we've calculated that it will. And then all of this stuff like settled down, and somehow all of the animals got buried in different spots and different layers. And all of these perfectly serene looking sedimentary deposits happened to drift down like 10, 20 kilometers of sediment came out of this ocean water somehow. And then somehow within a year, all the continents cracked apart, raced across the ocean at 40 some miles an hour or whatever the fuck it was, and didn't create any heat when they did it. And then they all the animals jumped out of this boat and ran to their spots, in different parts of the earth.
Yeah, no matter how many thousands of miles away that spot is.
And the plants suddenly sprouted up after being underwater and under this radiation and tsunamis and everything for a year. The plants sprouted up and quickly grew fast enough for the animals to have something to eat and for an ecosystem to develop. All of that happened, and they have evidence for that.
Yeah.
Well, if you take the entire body of biology, the entire body of geology and other ologies, and forget everything we know about them, and then replace them with their story about things, then that's how it works. You have to forget everything we know about.
Have they seen any of that in the lab? Is there a paper that describes a a 3-day-old dead corpse crawling out of a tomb and pushing a rock aside and coming to life and starting to preach? I mean, do they have a paper for that? Is that in the lab? I mean, they want us to, they actually believe these weird mythical stories. And yet, no matter how much evolution, how much biochemistry you present to them, they say, oh, well, that's not proof. That's not proof. That's not proof.
Yeah.
It's like, really? It isn't? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it works for everything else.
Yeah. And it's very insulting, right? I mean, I think so. I mean, these young Earth creationists, they just have to disregard so much of what you just described, all of geology and all that stuff. And those, the scientists that have been working on this for, a couple hundred years or whatever, and the knowledge that has been built and all the hard work, and these guys just say, oh, they're all just full of shit. They don't know what the hell they're talking. That's pretty insulting to I'd be pissed, but if I did all that work.
Yep.
So yeah, it's sad.
So anyway, I thought I'd put some porn on the screen here. So what we have here is a cell membrane, a lipid cell membrane. And you can see that it's a bilayer. There's a layer on the outside. There's one lipid on the outside and one on the inside. And those little round, on the surface of this, those little round spheres are the hydrophilic part that likes water. And on the inside are the fatty parts, right? And they're called glycerophospholipids. And there are a number of different ones that there's phosphatidylinositol and phosphatidylethylamine and a whole bunch of others that get together, along with a little cholesterol in mammals, or in animals particularly, that stiffen up this membrane. But anyway, this membrane is basically a liquid, and the best way to imagine is to think of a bubble. And you see how the bubble shimmers and how the water kind of moves around on the surface of the bubble. Well, so it has the quality of a liquid. And then it has proteins stuck through it and stuck to it, okay, on the outside and the inside. So it has some internal proteins and it has some external proteins. And then it has some proteins that go all the way through the cell membrane. And some of these proteins take signals from outside the cell and deliver them to the inside of the cell, where they can change which genes get expressed. And others form channels. They form like you see the one in the middle, the blue one with the little curlies. There's 3 of them there. Those are alpha helices. And in the center of that, there can be a pore, a channel for like sodium to get in, or out or whatever, and for other molecules to go through these things. Other ones are more active, and they can take a molecule and they can actually actively change their conformation and grab it from the outside of the cell and deliver it to the inside of the cell, or vice versa. The signaling molecules are really important. And then these little tiny dots that are stuck to the outside proteins are carbohydrates that kind of give the cell its character. That's kind of what viruses look for. And so this is kind of the story of how cells communicate with each other. And say if you have a developing liver cell, it will get a message from the outside of the cell where there's kind of a soup, right? And that soup will give it a signal, and then the inside of the cell, it'll change the conformation or the shape of the protein just enough to signal something on the inside of the cell. And that will probably bump into another molecule or another molecule. It'll form what's called a signaling cascade. And it ends up eventually sending something into the nucleus, which rearranges and modifies the DNA so that certain genes are expressed in a cell, right? And so the heart cell tells the liver cell, which starts out as a cell that it can turn into either a hepatocyte or a cholangiocyte, it's called, but it sends a signal to it and it tells it what to be. So cells learn what to be from outside. And then once that signal cascade gets into the nucleus, it'll start producing more of the things that make it more of what it is. So it starts to, there's a positive feedback loop that turns it into a solid liver cell, and it's never going to turn back into anything else, or a solid bile cell, which is a cholangiocyte. And that's how the embryo develops, is with all of these cell signals going through this membrane. And then the other thing about this membrane is that it's anchored to a kind of a cottony substance on the inside of the cell, which is like actin. And there's little proteins that anchor it to parts of some of those proteins on the cell surface. And so there's sort of an anchoring process. And one of the things that this can do is change a cell into an interesting new shape. Like some cells will be square. Liver cells happen to have little rays of things going out of the corners of them that affect how the cell functions. So inside the cell, it's not just one big bag of water that's all the same. The inside of the cell can have its own areas and its own regions and stuff, and it's all based on also these fuzzy cotton things that are anchoring on the inside of the cell. On the outside of the cell, we have something called an extracellular matrix, which is more cottony substance that kind of holds the cell or holds a tissue into the shape that it needs. And that's how organs are formed and bones and things like that. But anyway, that is the science portion of the show. So
very good. Hey, I wanted to point out that you have a guest that I don't think comes here too often. Heaven Rules All is here, which
really?
is, I believe, is Candace, right? I think that's Candace.
I don't know.
We also have a question from Raw Nakedness.
So Candace frequents, Candace frequents Praises channel a lot, and I think it'd be great if we could invite her in, but she's probably not. But
my upset is primarily expressed in muscle cells, or cells that the cells that have some means of or some reason to move or create a force, and it associates with actin. But actin is in every cell, even without myosin. So actin is like the main framework of the cell, and it attaches to other inner things like those microtubules that you see the little man walking on, and then there's intermediate filaments, and there's microfilaments. And so the cell has like a whole bunch of little rods and structure going through it that can make it a certain shape. So anyway, and there's a lot more to it than that. Now, James Tour says, I think he said that the cell membrane is impossible in prebiotic Earth because he insists that the two sides of the bilipid layer have to be different. And they do not have to be different, but they typically are in mammals. There's slight differences in which phospholipids are on the inner surface and the outer surface. And that has to do with a complex signaling mechanism and something called flipase. Flipase flips lipids, from one layer to the other, from the outside to the inside layer, that sort of thing. But anyway, he makes a claim that I have not found anywhere in any molecular biology text that it has to have this difference in the composition of the lipids. But then in prebiotic Earth, I'm pretty sure it would have a difference because there was a mix of a lot of different compounds.
Didn't Professor Dave address that in his rebuttal to the series?
I think he missed that part. And I was disappointed that he missed it.
Oh, well.
Anyway. I get his videos recommended to me all the time.
James Tour?
No, Professor Dave.
Yeah. The videos on James Tour he did were great, but basically his normal videos are usually pretty good.
He's really good.
Yeah.
And let's see what. I linked your video with Paula Gia in the description, AJ. That was wonderful.
Oh, thanks. Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to say that Paula Gia stayed up all night last night to finish editing that video and get
Really?
it rendered. Yeah, he really worked hard on it. And I mean, I did a lot of research for that video, but you know, I would like to give a lot of credit to him for a lot of hard work he did on that video. But I thought it came out great.
You've gained 75 subscribers since that video came out.
Yeah, I know it's I've been watching it. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Good. Congratulations on that one. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even I mean, obviously, like I know all that stuff because like I said it, but even me watching that video and seeing it all laid out like that, I was like, this shit is crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
Let's see what else is going on. Oh, what's an interesting video from 1997 by a guy named Ellen Kay. That Luke, you remember the Christian Luke that I talked to?
Yes.
I'm going to be talking to him again on the 20th, and I have a video that I haven't put out yet. I'm going to premiere that right before I talk to him again. But anyway, he's a programmer, and he sent a video about a guy who was agreeing with Nicholson that computer programs are really dumb compared to biology, and biology does things very differently than computers do. And Ellen Kay he was involved with Xerox PARC and Smalltalk, and he's he's a heavy hitter. He's 81 already, but anyway, but he was making the point in this video that, and I think, I'm not sure if I linked it, but I will. He was making the point in the video that that computers should be more like biology because we would end up not going down the dead ends that we have been going down for the last 30 years in programming, basically. He's talking about how we're screwing ourselves with computer technology, basically. And this was in 1997. So make sure I got that linked.
Sounds very interesting and, you know, prophetic almost.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
one thing I forgot to mention, James Downard and Dapper Dino, Bent Hovind, Colton, and a few other science YouTubers are up in the Grand Canyon, and they're going to be doing I think a live YouTube broadcast on Wednesday at 9.
Wow.
So apparently, well, I guess they have good Wi-Fi there, which is why RJ can broadcast from there. But I'll put the link in the side chat, so that should be good.
Yeah, I think they're staying at Dapper Dino's house or something, and like Dr. Dan was doing a live stream last night, and like I saw a picture of them. They were like watching it in the living room. It was pretty funny.
Nice.
I just want to make sure people tune in for that because it's always good to support RJ because he's just a really, really good person with the anti-creationism, with
he's
over our heads that we should use source methods and question every source until we get to the bottom of what people are using.
I think if you put together about 10 really good websites that had a whole bunch of information and facts, blogs and wikis on creationism, you would just start to come close to what is in RJ's head. I mean, the man is an encyclopedia, a walking encyclopedia of facts about creationism. And he's been doing this for, I think, about 3 decades, so he's been doing it a lot longer than any of us, which is pretty interesting. So
we need to get somebody to just follow him around with a recording device and just have him think of things off the cuff.
Well, there's good news on that. He wrote a couple books. The Rocks.
That's true.
He's going to publish another one with
Volume 2. Jackson Wheat.
With Jackson Wheat, yes.
Yeah, I had some suggestions for the name of the sequel to the book. My suggestion was The Rocks Were There, Too Fast, Too Igneous.
Did they reject it? Or did they...
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
That's genius. That is marketing genius. Just absolutely excellent.
But yeah,
what else?
I think collaboration is a great thing when it comes to taking on creationists, you know.
Yep. Alan Kay, born in 1940, an American computer scientist. And he's quite a heavy hitter. He has some pretty good things to say. Anyway.
Well, you know, it's interesting if you look at like computer hardware from like the year like 1980, and then you compare it to like 1990, like 10 years later, those two computers aren't even in the same league. Like you'd have like one of the early like compact laptops versus like a Commodore PET or some shit like that. But then if you go 10 years later after that, like to 2000, like there's differences. But then if you look like 2010 to 2020, like the differences are not as dramatic as they were like a few decades ago.
The whole thing slowed down. I mean, we were going so fast in 1980 that anyway, he talks about a computer that some acquaintance of his had, and this computer was its own building. The computer was its own roof. I mean, it was so huge, and it ran some kind of a sketch pad or something like that. Anyway, computers used to be a hell of a lot bigger. But I mean, they really, oh my God. What do you got, Loki? Is that a bird? No.
No, I managed to get in. What's going on?
It's a bird.
Well, Atheist Junior said something about atheist rocks, and I'm thinking, yeah, if you've ever heard of an atheist rock group, they don't do soul.
Yeah, that's true.
I just made this up.
Yes, rocks, Orge. We need to talk more about rocks because that is the one thing that blows young Earth creationism all to hell. You study a little bit of geology, and there is no way that a flood did that stuff.
And it's called petrology, the study of rocks, but they keep referring to it as geology, which is you can mix them up a little bit by calling it petrology. They won't know what you're talking about.
Study of the earth,
or they mix up paleontology and geology. That's one that I see a lot. Yeah, because fossils aren't rocks.
Doubting Thomas says 2Q2. What? Damn diggity rocks. I agree. So what's going on with you, Randolph?
Well, I was just watching Pelagia's stream earlier today. It was a premiere featuring Atheist Junior's excellent investigative journalism on Kent Hovind.
Plus, he was a cartoon.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Really, yeah. Atheist Junior did a great job with that. I know he's been looking into that quite a lot, doing a lot of research. So it's amazing what you've uncovered about Kent Hovind. Wow.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you did great.
Well, I definitely had some help from some people that were at DAL, and it's kind of funny. I mentioned this in like the science Twitter group chat the other day, is that I was talking to this woman who was at DAL, and her name is Faithful to Jesus. That's her legal
Dinosaur Adventureland, right?
Yeah. That's her legal name, though. It's
Oh my God.
Really?
Like she showed me her driver's license, and I couldn't stop laughing for like an hour. Like, I don't know, it just cracked me up.
Funny. Oh.
Because she messaged me on Facebook, and I thought it was one of those things where it's like, okay, this person doesn't have their actual name, and I was like, what's your name? And she said that. I was like, what? Oh, and then she sent me a picture of the driver's license, and I was like, well, fair enough. Like,
just call her Faith, I guess.
Apparently, somebody set Orge off.
I
guess people talking about rocks will do that.
Yeah. I know a guy whose last name is Church, and he is very religious. And then on tech support the other day, I was talking to a guy whose first name is Lord. It's like in the Philippines. The names are getting interesting these days.
I didn't mean to start a controversy.
So the thing is, the more I listen to your stuff on Hovind, the more cult-like and criminal. I mean, he's almost like a combination of a cult and a meth dealer from whatever state he lives in. I mean, some of the stuff
Alabama currently, I think.
Some of
Yeah.
the stuff they're doing doesn't sound exactly legal.
You know, I get the same impression that you do, Speed. It's the more and more I hear about it, the more cult-like it is. It's
Yeah, and they're going to be doing documentaries on this in like 10 or 20 years after some people end up losing their lives over it. You know,
I mean, they've been cutting corners to build some of the structures they want to build, haven't they?
Yeah, and I mean, technically, there's already been one loss of life at DAL.
yeah, the drama.
But yeah,
That's terrible.
with
Yeah.
with the construction, Kent Hovind is constantly on his broadcast. He's always saying how like, oh, wait, I need people to come do roofing, or I need people to do plumbing or electrician work, and he's always saying that he knows how to do that. He's just too busy. But what he means is, I want somebody to come and do this for free. I don't want to actually hire somebody and have to pay them and have to pay taxes on the work. So he gets people to come that are volunteers, and then he's like an authority figure over them. So he micromanages them and gets them to install stuff like the wrong way, like insulation on the on a wall. It's like backwards, so it's like going to draw water into the building instead of like preventing that from happening, like stuff like that. And
Yeah, I just hired a lady to do the roofing. She got 13 years experience, but the key is I hired her. I'm paying her to do the work because I don't have the time. I'm not going to expect people to do this stuff for free. People should be paid for their time and their hard work.
Yeah.
But remember, people should want to support the faith, fight the good fight for young Earth creationism.
Okay.
That's the rhetoric.
Oh,
Yeah.
Before we get into other subjects, Dr. Dan and David Neff had a wonderful video last night on their channel, and it's linked in the description.
It was so awesome. My forehead is still sore from all the times I face palmed.
Oh my God, that Rob Carter is just a piece of work. I can't believe it. And he's one of the PhDs that they are referring to, and they say, oh, we have a lot of PhDs that don't believe in evolution. And he's one of the, well, I don't think he's a PhD. I think he's got a bachelor's in biology or something. But anyway, he is just a piece of work. I couldn't believe some of the stuff he said. Incredible.
Yeah. And I saw David did on his channel, he did an interview with somebody. It was just him, and I'll give him credit for that, because I know that it's hard to do a live stream where you're interviewing somebody and managing all that stuff at the same time. It's pretty tricky.
Yep. So David Neff's channel, I'm going to put the link in chat. You really
Well, it was on Creation Myths channel.
Yeah, I know, but I've got that link in the description already.
But
But
you just
David-
want to shout out to David Neff.
But David Neff has a
Very
whole
cool.
bunch of videos that don't get a lot of love, and they should.
According
Yeah.
to Bessel Drace, Robert Carter is a PhD in marine biology.
Oh, okay, so yeah.
Yeah.
But
And,
he's no good in any other subject, apparently.
He apparently doesn't understand much about genetics, which is
So
Yeah.
his choice of interest after getting a PhD in marine biology was to try and do something with biochem. That's kind of interesting.
well. He was a biology teacher, I think a high school teacher for a long time. He did a paper on corals or something like that. You know, and the thing about a PhD, to get a PhD, I think you got to drill way down into one particular little topic, and you write your paper, you do your thesis.
yeah.
and you get a
Basically.
PhD. It doesn't necessarily mean you're a great authority on the entire field. I don't think.
No, it means your authority on the one thing you published in,
The one thing you published in, yeah.
but it doesn't mean you know everything about every other field like that's tangentially related to it.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I just want to mention that Sal Cordova last night pointed out that I'm a high school dropout who apparently, how did he put it, ruined my brain with drugs and alcohol. So that's what happens when you share with a creationist that you're a drug addict. They,
So Sal is arguing, and referencing this person as an adversary to creationism. That's
And how did he?
does
make
he not
that-
realize
how
what
did
he's
he-
doing?
And how did he make that assessment about your brain?
I don't know how he made that assessment. He because I told him because I talked to him about my being a drug addict and an alcoholic. So he decided that I burned. How did he put it? He said I burned my brain out on drugs and alcohol. And I don't know how he made that assessment. So
Yeah, you sound pretty
It's-
coherent to me.
but anyway, for
But-
anybody that thinks El Cordova is such a wonderful fucking creationist, that's what you get from these people when they find your soft underbelly, they just want to go for it, you know?
You know, the fact
is,
that
though-
he's attacking you like that reveals to me that he's quite insecure about his own positions. Otherwise, why would he need to attack you?
Well,
and
yeah,
it's also undermining his own position too, because what's he trying to say? Like by arguing with a person that he thinks essentially has lost half their brain due to engaging in drugs and alcohol. Like, what does that say
Well,
about your position?
That's a
he's
great
still
point.
smarting from the ass kicking I gave him on fitness. So
Well, I would recommend that Sal watch the stream that was on Dr. Dan's channel it was him and me and Dapper Dino, and I know Speed jumped in at one point where we were trashing a chapter out of a book that he worked on. It was just a bunch of quote mines
yeah,
and shitty creationist arguments. And
Yep.
I think people have this misconception that if you lose brain cells due to like drinking or something, that they're just gone. Like cells come and go, like they die and they come back. Like,
yeah.
Well, unless you take meth and then it fuses your synapses together, but that's
Yeah.
a whole different problem.
There's actually meth not that bad for your brain.
Like street meth, I mean, like people would take a lot of it.
Oh yeah, you can burn yourself out, but alcohol. In order to get wet brain, you have to. Your liver's going to go before your brain goes. I mean, there aren't that many alcoholics that actually drink themselves into dementia. I guess there's a bunch, but I mean, it takes.
More they more suffer from liver problems than something with their brain. Usually.
And the
literally
liver is
you go
quite
for it.
resilient as it is. So if they're getting their liver in such bad shape, they've really done a number to themselves.
Right.
Isn't
Yeah, you
dementia due to the misfolding of amyloid beta proteins?
No, it attacks the hippocampus and it screws up the neurogenesis in the hippocampus, and the hippocampus is what you need in order to keep your current memory.
So what am I thinking of? Alzheimer's, or I know there's something really.
Yeah, you're thinking of Alzheimer's.
Well,
Okay.
Alzheimer's is like you literally lose half your brain, like the physical brain matter deteriorates, and a lot of it is just gone. But there's definitely a link between dementia and Alzheimer's. Like there's similar symptoms.
The alcohol syndrome is called wet brain, and I think let me see, wet brain from alcohol. Repeat and heavy exposure to alcohol. I mean, you have to drink a lot in order to fuck your brain up with alcohol. Let's see. It's called Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. And I believe, let's see, acute and chronic phases of vitamin B1 deficiency, thiamine depletion. Let's see, it doesn't tell you where it attacks your brain. Anyway, it was much more common back in like the 40s and 50s when people would drink. They wouldn't just drink alcohol; they drink wood alcohol. They were drinking all kinds of really bad shit, and they would fuck their brains up.
What alcohol will fuck you up because it has like the impurities it has in it will damage like your cells and your liver.
make you go blind.
Well, it's a poison.
Yeah, it has it has methanol in it, doesn't it? What alcohol?
Yeah. It is methanol. One of the same. Where's Leo? Leo could tell us they're different compounds.
Ethyl alcohol and ethanol are different compounds. I could have, Somebody should have clipped that. Speaking of Leo, though, do you want me to do this here or in private?
Definitely not here, and probably not in private either. So I don't know.
Okay.
Unless something happened to Leo. I haven't seen Leo for a while.
Do it in the private chat.
He's been around, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's been in the side chat.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I hope he's okay, whatever's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him around here and there, but I'm not sure what he's up to.
I have a dying liver and a toxic liver. I'm trying to find out what exactly is attacked with wet brain. Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. Pretty sure it's hippocampus, and I don't know why it kills your hippocampus. Let's see. Oh, I guess that's from thiamine deficiency. Wow, interesting. That's a whole different mechanism than Alzheimer's or dementia. Anyway, I don't know. I don't think I have that, guys. I don't know.
No,
And I think-
Maddox might though.
And
Well,
I think
apparently someone's gonna tell Maddox that I'm pro math. I said they should tell him I'm pro math.
Yeah, math is good. I like math. I find it difficult sometimes myself personally. Other people they do math really well, and every once in a while I like to do some math. But
Emily Latella.
Most people I know are better at math than I am.
Math. Never mind. Anyway, anybody that attacks a recovering alcoholic in that way is a piece of shit. I'm sorry. You're just a piece of shit. If
it's an ad hominem. I mean, it's pretty much the
it's worse.
definition.
I mean, it's like attacking somebody who's got a handicap, and they manage to recover from it, and for a long period of time, and then going ahead and claiming that there's something wrong with them because they have this handicap, right?
They're
Yeah.
jealous because they don't think they could do it themselves, or they're trying to upset people. It's an off-topic remark. It's a personal attack.
It's
And
nasty.
it's not an ethical way to engage with people.
Yeah, and not to bring up Kent Hovind a million times, but in his video yesterday, he said that some Christian woman called him from jail and said, like, it was the third time that she had got arrested for drugs or something, and she said, "Oh, well, Kent, what do I do?" And he said, "Oh, just stop doing it. Like, if you don't buy it, or if you don't buy alcohol and put it in your fridge and you won't drink it, then if you don't have it, then you won't drink it. It's easy." And I'm thinking that's not how chemical addiction works, Kent.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. And you clearly don't know anything about the process of addiction, because addiction can happen to anybody, And so it
That
irritates
affirm-
me.
That
when
answers
people
the
say
second
stuff like
question
that.
I was going to ask.
Leo makes a good point.
That answers the second question I was going to ask in regards to if Kent Hovind is actually being truthful when he says he hasn't touched alcohol. Then, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think what Hovind there is doing too. He's confusing a bad habit with an addiction. And,
Yeah.
Can we just say that Kent Hovind is overall a confused man?
he's a confused man, and but I just hope people out there who might listen don't confuse an addiction with a bad habit. Now, I've had bad things happen in my life because of bad habits, but not because of alcohol or drugs.
Where would you say the point of demarcation from one to the other starts or ends? I mean, because a bad habit can lead to an addiction, but
Well, that's true. That's true.
when
it's a
it's
little more
something that
complicated.
starts to change the chemical processes in your brain, when it's a dependency,
Yeah, that's
that you don't
typically
have
how it
control
goes.
over. Yeah, it's like when
when you feel like you need it to function, essentially.
Yeah, it's like I leave
Number
cabinet
one-
doors open sometimes. It's a bad habit. It's not really the same thing.
It changes your dopamine pathway significantly so that you can no longer function like a normal human being. Instead of craving food, you crave a drug of some sort or alcohol. It's also very strongly associated with depression, and people that are depressed often end up with alcoholism. The other thing about it is that when you start early out in life and you start and you have the genetic makeup, and you have depression or some other symptoms or some other reason, when you start using alcohol and drugs, it starts to change your life. You become more depressed. When you quit taking cocaine and meth, for instance, it takes 3 years for your brain to start producing the right amount of neurotransmitters to keep you from wanting to hang yourself. So anybody that sobers up has to sober up for 3 years before they even start to feel like being alive. So you can imagine how difficult it is when something changes your brain chemistry to the point where you cannot function without it. That's what addiction is.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not a particularly easy thing to recover from.
And it's not an uncommon problem. There's a lot of people who struggle with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And a lot of people who
5%.
recover too.
Well, the way the reward center in your brain works, it's like you get like dopamine or serotonin released when you, like, let's say, eat or have sex or go to the bathroom or, have a positive experience or do positive things, normally that's when your brain releases those chemicals. But if you sort of cheat and are using a drug, especially one like meth that releases probably more dopamine than probably any other illicit drug, when you're doing it like and releasing that high of an amount, when you don't have it, all of a sudden you can't have the same release that you would normally. So you can't be, you're literally not functioning like you would normally because you can't be happy. Like you can't have the serotonin release.
All of the things that make you want to get up and do something in the morning, or want you to do something for your loved ones, or anything positive in your life, basically, that pathway gets commandeered, it gets short-circuited. So instead of wanting something good in your life, you want a drug instead, and you will go out and get it. And it's amazing, like back when I had slips, or when I would try to recover, it's like, okay, I'm not going to use, I'm never going to use again. I swear on my life, I will never use again. I mean, it's like I had every reason to sober up, and all of a sudden, I'd get a thought in my head, and I would push all the other thoughts out of my head, and I could feel it happening. And I would go right to the source and get the drug. And there was nothing in the world that could prevent me from getting it. I would kill to get it, basically. And I didn't even know why I was doing it. And then I would screw up again. And 5 to 14 days later, I would sober up and I'd say, why did I do that? Why did I do it? You don't even know who you are anymore. I mean, it's like you wake up in the morning and you have goals, right? And within an hour, your goals are completely washed away. You're off on a bender. And then when you wake up from it, you have no idea who that person was that went out and bought that drink or got that drug. And it's the most heartbreaking thing to live through when you can't even trust who you are at all. You can't trust your own ambition or anything. Everything that you do, if you go to work to make money and work hard, you will work hard to get that drug, basically. And it just tears you up. I mean, I sat and I cried and cried because I wanted to quit so goddamn bad. And within 3 days, I'd be using again, and I had no idea why. And it just went over, and it happened over and over again for a period of the last bender was 7 years, or 5 years, I guess it was.
This makes the attack on your character all the much worse now, in my
kind
view.
of shitty, yeah. I think
so. It's much far beyond that. This is just downright despicable.
Yeah.
Well, and it really shows that they aren't interested in understanding like what those things are like, or trying to help those people. If say there were people in the community that are still going through that phase of withdrawal and trying to break free, and they're more interested in using those examples of weakness as points of ridicule.
Yeah, it's so low. It's such an unfair thing to do.
And talk about kicking a person while they're down.
Yeah. This title is accurate, but this is PZ Meyer's blog, right? Faringula.
He's really mad at Cell.
And this was from 2010.
Well, in a recent blog article, he linked one of my videos.
Ooh.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Oh, did he really? Wow. Cool.
Yeah, I could show you. I'll share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead. I linked this in the chat for anybody to read. But yeah.
It was Raw Nakedness who provided it for us.
Oh, thank you, Raw Nakedness.
Some fantastic names in the chat today. El Gore Rhythm. I like that.
They definitely have personality.
He's around a lot.
So this
Macaroon. Yeah, he has a way with words.
This is a video I did about Standing for Truth's channel, and you can see my little channel avatar there.
Cool.
That video, if you haven't seen it, it's real short. It's just showing how Standing for Truth had a debate, an end times debate between Kent Hovind and another Christian. And during Kent Hovind's outro, he goes on this rant about vaccines, and Standing for Truth edited that part out on the video he hosted on his channel, so you can see how the times are different. And
so did he manage to Did anybody capture the part about vaccines?
Wait, can you say that again? I mean, did Standing for Truth go on about like the whole anti-vax thing, or was Hovind going on about it?
It was Hovind. I could just show the video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Show it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. I mean, I thought usually most, if not all, young Earth creationists kind of take the anti-vax position.
Well, he doesn't want to get in trouble with YouTube, so I think he's trying to protect his own behind.
Yeah. The thing is, though, like YouTube does have a lot of anti-vaxxers like on its platform that aren't getting. Well, they haven't quite got to platformed yet.
Right. Okay.
So people asked me as I was writing parts and publishing them from prison, they said, "When's this going to happen?" I said, "I don't know. I'm not going to set a date, but I think 2028 will be the rapture. And the tribulation starts 7 years before that in 2021. That's what I said in my book back in 2013 when I wrote it. You can read it for yourself. I think all this stuff with the microchip and the stuff they're putting in this crazy vaccine is part of it. This is certainly the forerunner and maybe even the mark. We shall see. The stuff they're putting in with this vaccine, visible under UV light, they'll be able to watch UV cameras putting up all over big cities. They're going to watch people coming out of stores. Oh, this one hasn't been vaccinated. Police arrest that man. And the blue lights to light it. And it's starting. I said all along back in 2013. I said, I think it starts in 2021. So the people asked me as I was writing parts and publishing them from prison, they said, "When's this going to happen?" I said, "I don't know. I'm not going to set a date, but I think 2028 will be the rapture. And the tribulation starts 7 years before that in 2021. And it's starting. I said all along back in 2013. I said, I think it starts in 2021.
Wow.
You can see 30 seconds cut out.
He could have gotten his channel taken down for that. I hope the hell we don't.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of weird because he's disobeying the Bible when he's trying to make this point about when the end times will occur.
Oh, are you playing that? Oh.
No, not me.
Randall. Oh my God. Yeah. Does he smoke?
No.
What is he talking about?
He's getting caught. He's going to get caught evolving on camera here. You watch.
It's because he never shuts up.
There he evolved.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty good.
I love that one.
That is good.
But yeah, so
Oh my.
PZ Myers linked that video I made on his blog, and then there's if you've seen it's like Your Tax Partners Matter or something like that. Peter Riley on Forbes.com. He's been writing articles about Ken Hovind for a long time, and he mentioned my channel in one of his recent articles also. So
Who was this?
So, AJ, you've gotten 35 subscribers, I think, since you've been on here. And while you were showing that Hovind thing, you got 6 new subscribers. So
Wow.
you're gonna be at
Nice.
2,000 by the end of the day.
That's right.
Yeah.
Pretty soon we'll have to start paying AJ to make an appearance here on the Weather
Yeah,
Report.
yeah.
It's like,
Start
sir,
charging.
could you please make an appearance?
Well, that's why I sent him a link today because I figure he'll be too famous tomorrow to
Yeah.
talk to
Yeah.
him.
yeah, I
You don't
guess
want to talk to a high school dropout who wrecked his brain with drugs and alcohol, right?
I would
Oh,
love
I've
to.
never heard about that.
Why does Sal keep mentioning you if he's sworn off like contact with you?
Because I really upset him.
You don't talk about him that much, though, do you?
I haven't for a while, but
Wasn't
because
the-
he hasn't put any garbage out. All he's putting out is I talk about him a lot actually. He puts out this shit about the McLean Bible College. You heard that he almost that they told him they were going to arrest him if he came back.
Oh, really? What did he do? I'm sorry, this is news to me.
He was like taking notes and interviewing people and creating havoc with the elders, and he was taking pictures and counting church attendance, and then he's running an entire website against the people that are in charge right now. So they're a little mad at him. So he kind of screwed him.
Yeah, the internal church politics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
that's
I'm not clear on what happened there, but I heard it got
well.
there was quite a schism.
They have three new pastors that are considered woke, and
Oh, that's right.
one of them likes Black Lives Matter, and that puts him out. And then the other two, I don't know what they did wrong, but they just hate him because they're trying to bring a more liberal agenda, I guess, into the sermons or something. I don't know.
Ooh, religious conservatives won't like that.
No, they don't like that. 2,000 years of any day now.
Oh yeah, isn't that just beautiful?
Rapture Survivor card. Celebrate 2,000 years of any day now. Survive 9
Yeah.
end times predictions, and the 10th one is free.
Yeah. My dad told a story. They got one of these radios at like 1930 or something, and when their first radio, and they turned it on, and there was one of these end of the world predictions going on.
Yeah.
And on the night of the end of the world prediction, my grandpa made them butcher a cow and cut it up and make sausage and basically put things away for the winter. And that's how they spent that night. My dad told that story that the kids all thought it was the end of the world, and grandpa just said, no, we're going to put up food for winter. And then when I was 12, we had another one. And I remember on that day, my first wife, who was I was really close with even when I was 12. Her mom died on that day, and I thought that was weird. But it was one of those. It was on the news, the world's going to end. It's the rapture and all that stuff. So how about every 30 years they come up with something like this? But I don't think anybody's taking them seriously anymore.
What about 1988? Do y'all remember that? That guy came out with the pamphlet, 88 Reasons Jesus is Coming Back in 1988.
Yeah.
He quoted me a few years later, when he did his, they always revise their numbers after they failed the first time.
Yep.
And I was at a bank, and he cornered me and just started telling me all about it. I could tell this guy's a obsessive wackaloon.
What was this referring to? Pelpuckle protrusion? Was that Kent? I don't know.
About the protrusion in the throat? Yeah, they're talking about Kent's cough.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, maybe he's got some cancer issue.
I think he's got some cancer.
Well,
That would suck for him.
I think the reason that Kent coughs so much is because he never shuts up. He's always talking. And I can, speaking from experience, like when I recorded the audio for the Apologia, it was 2 hours long. And by the end of it, my throat was destroyed, and I had a sore throat for like a week and a half. Yeah. So Kent is always talking, and he's been doing it for decades. So I think that's why. Because he doesn't smoke, and I thought he had lung cancer for a while, but he hasn't died yet, unfortunately.
Yeah. I was expecting a cancer diagnosis a couple of years ago, but apparently it's something else. Don't know.
Well, he claimed that he had cancer on the side of his mouth or something after he got out of jail in 2015, and he said that he took apricot seeds and shit, and that fixed it, or I don't know.
Oh, the vitamin B17 or
yeah. But he was also getting treatment, so I don't know. Who knows?
Yep. Tourette syndrome. We all
see the South Park episode about Tourette's. Oh, that was funny.
Yeah.
Speed has the browser version of Tourette syndrome.
I love that one.
I do. Too many browser tabs.
I like that episode because they simultaneously give a good explanation of what it is and how it kind of sucks, but also making fun of it.
Yeah. Oh, it was brilliantly done. Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that say on the bottom? I can't see it because your name is.
Oh, if we were all made in God's image, then why aren't we all invisible?
Yeah. Cool. That's a good one. I like it.
I'm going to have to fix how I display images on this so it can stay out of the way of the stuff at the bottom.
Yeah. Move them up a line. Well, kids, I don't know what else is happening. Nothing.
Well, I've been on Twitter. Somebody has contacted Draper, who did that article in the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, and they're trying to settle a bet. So they asked him. It's all on Twitter there. And they're trying to settle this bet about whether there's some kind of consensus in philosophy about the definition of atheism. And Draper answered, clarifying that in philosophy of religion, this tends to be the case, but not philosophy in general. So it's kind of the gist of what he means. This is creating some issues for people, and some people are saying that atheism is like I said, whatever the primary focus of a subdiscipline of philosophy is. It's what that is in that context, of course. So philosophy of religion, its primary focus is religion in a philosophical context. And somebody's telling me, no, it's atheism. No. And they say, well, what is it? Philosophy of mind? No, that's mind with the primary focus is on the human mind, I guess, with a philosophical context. So it's funny how these people it's like they're grasping at straws, and their arguments get weaker and weaker on this as more and more people keep educating them on it, and they keep brushing it aside and dismissing it. So I really think they're kind of at the end of the ropes.
The argument that I really dislike is about the atheists can't have morals or are borrowing Christian morals or all that stuff. Or it's
that's
really irritating.
That's imposing a limitation on people, and I agree with you on that. It's a terrible argument because there's nothing in atheism that says you have to be immoral or moral. It's morality is a separate thing, so that's up to each individual person.
And there's nothing to say that if you borrow, quote unquote, somebody else's morality, that it's not valid.
And the problem, and the problem too is
that's reality. You do it. Your parent, like, here's an example. My kid, when he was 3 years old, should have been shut away in juvenile prison because he stole an eraser from a Bible bookstore. You know, he grabbed it, put it in his pocket, and then we went to the car. He pulled it out of his pocket, and we marched him back inside and made him put it back. But good. And then we told him it's wrong to take stuff from stores. It's not just for you.
Yeah. And you see that's important, and it doesn't matter what store it's stolen from. The action is wrong. So I find religious zealots very often give so much credit to religion. It's like they'll say religion is responsible for this. It's all the morality all comes from their God, and it's not the only place it comes from. It's not only from your holy book, which, by the way, the Christian Bible is a whole set of all these different principles of morality. It's a standard I don't agree with, and a lot of people don't agree with. In fact, many Christians don't even agree with it in full. There's things in there that Christians wouldn't do that the book says to do. So
yeah, and it's always the worst examples of Christians who say this type of thing. And also, it's like, okay, well, you stole most of your religious iconography from Zoroastrianism, so
yes,
why do I care? You know?
Oh, can I change the subject real quick?
Yeah,
I wanted to ask Atheist Junior a question. You know how Joel Osteen has to pay back $4 million in pandemic relief funds that his church applied for?
Really?
No, I wasn't familiar with that.
Oh yeah, I'll find a link for you. But
well, Atheist Junior, this might be your next story.
Yeah, has Kent Hovind, did his organization take out any of those funds or whatever? Was he awarded any relief funds from the COVID-19?
I doubt it, but I haven't heard anything like that.
Interesting to find out.
It's a good question.
You know what I find kind of funny about the argument from people like Kent about COVID is they simultaneously say that COVID-19 is a hoax. It's not dangerous. They also say vaccines don't work. You shouldn't get vaccinated. and then at the same time they'll point to somebody like this woman, this professor from Notre Dame recently who got her third COVID, like she got vaccinated twice and then got a booster shot and died from COVID-19, and they point to that like, look, this person died. It's like, well, what's your point? What are you trying to say? Because your positions contradict each other.
It's one case. It's not even statistically significant.
I know. But it's like, so COVID is dangerous then. Is that what you're saying? Like, I just think that's funny.
Yeah, it is contradictory.
Yeah. Yeah, the buzz from some of my I don't want to point out a group that I'm acquainted with basically is that it doesn't exist, that they're making up the deaths, that it's pneumonia, and the reason they're making up the deaths is so that they can get paid a bounty, because the hospitals get paid a bounty if you die of COVID. That's kind of what and they got that from an article that basically pointed out that the average COVID stay cost $85,000. So they think the hospital actually gets paid if you fake the death certificate, right? I mean, it's just the kind of thinking, and it's the same kind of thinking, oddly enough, that goes into any creationist soup. Basically anything they come up with. So I don't know. But back to so what do you think of the term lacktheism, Randolph?
That question for me?
Yeah.
It's derogatory. The person who coined it, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to give him credit. I don't want to give him the publicity. He did it with the intention to be offensive and to deride atheists. Lack to me kind of implies that there's something that's normal that's missing. So that's why I just don't use the word. And well,
it's
Joel Osteen, Inspiration Cube. Press to listen. I guess you push the buttons and it puts out messages and sells for $40 in the store.
Oh my God!
Is that like Walmart or Walgreens or something?
I have no idea.
What really pisses them off about the position of atheism being, I just don't believe in it, is that there's no way to attack that.
Exactly.
The only way to attack that is to provide evidence.
And that's why philosophy of religion pushes so hard to put this burden onto atheists like myself, who don't hold this position. You know, it's and I push back on it every time because if somebody holds that anti-theistic point that there are no deities, that's fine. That's up to them. And that does carry a burden of proof. And all the anti-theists I've talked to have no problem with this, or the people who hold this position. And they're still atheists as a matter of consequence for you, because obviously, if you're genuinely saying there are no deities, then it logically follows that you don't believe there are deities.
Yeah, most of my life, I never even thought about it or considered it as a possibility. I just didn't care. I mean, and it wasn't like I sat and thought about it. But then in about maybe from 2000 to 2010, I became a hard atheist because I found a number of reasons why it's not even possible.
Well, yeah, and so you fit into both. So you have some reason to put behind it, which is incidental to the fact that you don't believe. Now you have a justification for it.
Right.
There are many people who don't, and there are many people who are apathetic.
And you don't need it.
Sorry.
I mean, it's like this evolution thing. Like you give them all this evidence and you sit down with them and you talk to them about evolution. They say, "Oh, well, you got to show it to me in a petri dish or whatever," and they're always shifting the burden back to you.
Yep. Do you know why? The main reason I figure is because they feel insecure about their own position. So they want to level the playing field, and they want interlocutors who have some kind of a burden as well. Not only so they have an avenue of attack, but so that they don't feel like they're left out. Because otherwise they feel like they're hanging there and the other guy is on solid ground. Well, by not holding a position, we're on solid ground. It doesn't matter what it is. If you don't hold a position in it, they can't attack you on it. Unless you have some justification for that. I go through without justification.
That's probably why they love to attack us on evolution more than they do anything else, right?
Yeah, and you see, they're assuming, and they're assuming that all atheists are favoring a particular scientific theory, which is also not true. There are many many atheists who aren't educated in it and just really don't hold any kind of solid position on it.
Well,
and then
the
there are
weird,
some atheists I've met who think that it's wrong.
the weird thing is that I study molecular biology and evolution on a daily basis. I spend like 4 or 5 hours studying it, but I'm still sort of almost. I mean, I've never said, "Oh yeah, evolution is absolutely true." That isn't what I do. What I do is I study the minutia, right, of mechanisms and how things happen. But overall, I'm almost agnostic about what happened.
Yeah, you don't know, and that's honest. And I think evolution has, my understanding is, it is very well accepted in the scientific community and has been proven, and through all kinds of different evidence and different research and whatnot, they've been able to use evolution to accelerate growth of viruses in the lab, so they can make vaccines for flu shots and stuff before it develops naturally out in the wild. And it doesn't always develop the same way out in the wild, but they're able to cover a lot of cases and give us a huge advantage to the different variants that come up.
Yeah, and you can make predictions, and you can also figure things out about diseases that attack us today based on evolutionary pathways and stuff. But I can't imagine any other way it could have happened.
But my point here is this is an example of reproducing the mechanism of evolution.
Yeah. But the thing is, like with the conversation with Rebecca, I was telling her about the liver, right? The liver evolving, and something I've been looking into. And she said, "Well, show me a paper." And I said, "Well, that paper would be 1,000,000 pages long, because it isn't just one thing that I can show you that's going to explain it." And they have this absolutely frustrating position that we have to be able to observe an organ or some limb or something developing in front of our eyes, that we have to see it happen.
That's why I just mentioned different kinds of research, because there's stuff looking at the history, fossil records, and things like that. And the thing is, they're the ones that are applying that arbitrary time frame. They have to justify applying that time frame. Otherwise, we don't have to accept it if they can't justify that arbitrary time frame.
Yeah, that's the other thing, the 6,000-year-old Earth. I've been looking a little bit into geology. I have a whole geology library on the second floor, and when I'm on the second floor, I switch hats to geology now.
Oh,
so
nice.
Reading about sedimentary rocks and how they form.
Is it one of those khaki-colored hats? That.
Yeah.
I like how you're putting geology up on the second floor instead of in the basement.
Yeah. In the basement, I have molecular biology. On the second floor, it's geology. I don't know what the hell I'm going to put on the third floor. Probably Netflix.
Raccoon evolution. Oh no, they're on the ground floor.
We need to talk about raccoon evolution.
Raccoon evolution
and nutrition too. Your raccoons are too fat. Speed, you're killing them.
Anyway, geology is something that they don't attack, and the reason they don't attack is because they're going to get their asses kicked so badly, because there's no way that they can make a case for what we have in rock formations today being 6,000 years old. There's no way. So
all you need to refute this atheist, secularist, evolutionary geology is a pack of crackers.
Yeah, Dr. Cracker.
It proves that rocks cannot bend.
So I'm going to order one of those khaki vests and a hat, and start appearing on my YouTube with that. So especially when I talk about rocks and geology, I'm going to have to start wearing that hat, and I'm going to get a pack of crackers so I can show you. You know what we're talking about, Randolph?
No.
Dr. Crackers? Okay. There's some geologist that they have, and he's an old Australian dude, and he's real down home. All the Australian guys, they talk like, they're, my mama told a story, all that bullshit. And anyway, he pulls out these crackers and he cracks them up, and he talks about his wife getting mad at him, but he's trying to explain that rocks can't fold. I mean, he's a geologist. He claims to be a geologist, and he's claiming that rocks can't fold, which is like probably one of the first things you learn. It's like how rocks fold, and we know rocks fold, and it's like, Anyway, we call him Dr. Crackers because of his cracker demo, and that's on Standing for Truth Change. There you go, channel.
Hey,
Now-
hey, I have to dip out now, guys, but it's been real.
Oh yeah,
thank you,
you're too famous for us, eh? Well,
Take care, Atheist Junior, and thanks for all the work you're doing on researching.
Yeah, congrats on the
opened
exposure,
industry.
man.
congrats
No,
on that video today. That was just absolutely incredible. I was
Oh,
so
you did
happy to see
fantastic.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I got a lot of nice comments, so I appreciate all the praise. But thanks, guys.
Yep,
See you, AJ.
that's the last praise you're going to get around here. So enjoy it.
Now, if you're wanting to talk about object
Holy
lessons,
shit! He said since he got on the show, he got 70 new subscribers.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Oh, Apologia's channel brought him a lot, didn't it?
Well, I like to think it was Answers in Atheism that brought him those 70 subscribers.
It's probably
'cause he
so.
was
It
here,
probably
right?
is. It probably
Yeah.
is.
I mean, he
That
was
sounds
here.
great.
Yeah.
I think we're good for him. I think we're good for him.
Crackers and cheese.
Crackers and Genesis.
Yeah, we could call him Dr. Crackers and Cheese.
But
Oh yeah,
speaking of
He-
actual,
Plato is the other thing he brings out all the time. So,
but have you seen that lesson that Nick Zentner did where he went to a store close to where his college is, and he bought this candy bar. I don't remember the name of it. It's not real common that I've heard, but he took one and he just carried it with him, and the other one he put in his pocket. And to illustrate the same exact thing that Dr. Crackers did, he took the one that he just carried at room temperature and pressed against it and bent it, and it broke.
right.
And then he took the one that he had in his pocket that had warmed up and took it and bent it, and it bent because it was softer and it was heated up. And he said that's what happens when you put rocks under heat and pressure. It softens and it becomes bendable at great pressure. And then he showed pictures of rocks that had done that, layers of curvy.
But there's
terrain.
another thing that they gloss over on all of that, and that is that some of those rock folds do have fractures in them.
Right.
You can see the fractures. And
There's
you'll end up
another-
with quartz deposits, building up in those fractures.
There's another explanation I've heard from the apologists, the Christian apologists, trying to criticize the age of rocks, and they'll say stuff like they'll try to attack the dating methods, and they'll say stuff like, well, there's multiple dating methods because none of them are accurate. If any one of them was accurate, it'd be able to measure everything.
Right.
And stuff like that.
And they try to measure everything with like they'll send in a sample that's 200,000 years old and try to get carbon dating on it, and or vice versa. They use the wrong, and they end up outside of the air margins, and you cannot get an accurate date with beyond certain air margins.
Yeah, or they'll send a sample of something that came from Mount St. Helens last eruption and try to apply whatever radiocarbon dating, and it's going to be inaccurate because it hasn't had long enough for those statistical ranges to kick in. So
Different
it's
methods,
too
different
early
ranges.
to get an accurate reading.
Yeah, different methods, different ranges, and that's what they have trouble with. They say, well, there shouldn't be ranges. Okay, well, go prove it and get yourself a Nobel Prize.
Yeah, where did they
Well,
come up with that rule?
It's another arbitrary rule they're putting on, right?
There's a table that Standing for Truth keeps showing that came from Contested Bones, the book, and I went and looked up the source for it. And what the source was showing what you don't do to get accurate dates. And basically they were showing all of the failures. Well, the paper had a list. And then not only that, but they didn't even get the columns right when they reproduced the paper. They switched 2 columns around. So, I mean, it was just and he puts it up and he says, why should I trust radiometric dating? And the whole paper was about how to trust radiometric dating, how to do it right.
Why did they switch the columns around?
I think they made a mistake. They took the, I think it was the.
Okay, it was a mistake in how
yeah,
they read.
it was the amount of radioactive material, and it had a number that looked very close to millions of years. And then they had a millions of years column, and they switched them. So they put for millions of years, it was actually the composition of the material. You know, the percentage.
And one of the other things they'll say is, well, how do we really know that it can measure the age of something from a million years ago or something? And they say, you guys weren't there to verify it. How do you know for certain?
How do you know? Physics.
And that one trips up a lot of people because a lot of people don't know how to answer that because they don't actually, I think most people don't understand how the dating methods work. So,
yep.
And that might be another interesting topic to cover at some point on your video series you want to do, is to explain the different dating methods and how they work.
Yeah, Erica did a pretty good job of that. It takes a lot of research, you know, to look into it. And,
she has done several videos that talk about radiometric dating, and I know like Maddie from Science Side Up knows a lot about it, and so some of her videos will also contain information about radiometric dating.
That's one of those things I think I will defer to people who are experts in that field. So I would love to get into it, but
just want to say hello to Geoffrey in the chat. We were just chatting yesterday on a on B Not Just B's YouTube channel, and had a really nice conversation. But Geoffrey is a theist, but is quite reasonable to chat with, I found. So I think he's wondering if this is over soon.
It is over soon. We're going to shoot it. I have this shoot it in my head thing going around in my head for the last 5 minutes. So anyway, so where did you talk to Geoffrey?
On B Not Just B's channel.
B Not Just B?
Yeah, BE. If you just look that up, he now is has a show on YouTube called Root and Branch, showcasing different atheists. I think you may have been on B's show once.
Or I was.
If not, I did try to get you hooked up with B to get on that show, because he wants to highlight atheists doing different things and try to promote. So.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So if you haven't been on B's Root and Branch show yet, I do follow up and try to get on there, because it'll be really good. I think people find it interesting hearing about your the work you're doing in science and your raccoons.
Do you happen to have a link to the channel?
I'll get that right now for you. Just give me a sec.
Is it wrong to fat shame raccoons?
Oh, is it Root and Branch YouTube? Is that the name of the channel, or is there more than one?
Let me just University. Branch stuff. Let me make sure we got you in the right place there.
Okay.
I'm familiar with it.
I'll put the link in the description too.
Yeah.
We talked about it.
Branch. No, why is this not coming up for me now? Oh, here we go. I think I found the channel. Okay, I'll just get you a link to B's channel here, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
So the name's a little complicated. Okay, I'll just put it in the private chat. I can put it in the public chat too. There it is.
There it is. Okay, good. I will put it in the description.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's a
so. Yeah, the freak's been here quite a bit, I think.
So Otangelo's asking, atheists ask us to justify your beliefs all the time, and we do it over and over. God did it. Look at the trees. What else do you need? It's atheists that like to dodge and hold the weak atheist, I guess, position is the next word.
Yeah. So gee,
Thank you, Otangelo, with the wrong IP.
Yeah, that could be a fake one, so keep that in mind. Yep.
I didn't know that God did it. I don't know. Actually, I don't think that is fake. I don't know. It sure sounds like Otangelo.
It does characterize a kind of attitude that comes across quite a lot from a number of apologetic theists.
Yeah, it's very Otangelo-esque, but you just don't know anymore.
Yeah, well, let's see if he can link something like Cat's Board or something like that. Or
you've heard of fake news that's fake confuse.
John Oliver did a thing on Sunday on fake news on the internet and stuff. That was pretty interesting show. It was awesome. He showed this this kid was pranking his Indian parents who are always on this on one of these chat programs all the time. He made a fake meme, and he was talking about how to make it, and it's kind of hilarious how you make it. He actually used I think Dre and some other rapper's name and put parentheses in uppercase and made it look like a chemical name, and then said that this thing cures cancer, and he went on and he explained how to create a meme. But then the meme kind of went viral, and some people didn't know that it was a joke. So it actually, people started to think it was real. So it kind of backfired on them, but it was excellent. But anyway, the latest John Oliver is pretty good on that stuff. So you should watch it. And I think we should shoot it in the head, boys and girls.
I got one picture here for you.
Oh, you do.
You remember the picture of the black hole? Somebody.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Now we know.
This is a picture from a few years ago. I love this meme. Whoever came up with it is brilliant.
You see these scientists, they just, they have all this fake information, this fake evidence, right? It was just a cigarette.
Yeah.
There are no black holes. Okay, guys. Kill it.
Thanks, Speed. This is another great episode.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to shoot it in the head as soon as I can figure out what I'm doing here. Okay, goodbye, cruel world.